Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this.
Hi Jason, how are you today?
Yeah, very well. And how are you, Filia?
I'm good too, thank you.
It's good Monday.
Yeah. Sunburned.
Sunburn, you look amazing. Nice and colourful.
Even if it's cloudy, you can still get a sunburn.
Yeah, you certainly can. Today we're going to be talking about the impact that your decisions have on others. Mm-hmm. I think this is really, really important to understand. I was talking to someone the other day about, it doesn't matter what I do because I don't matter. Mm-hmm. And this is the biggest lie that you can tell yourself is that your decisions that you make are insignificant to the outside world. So every decision that we make is consequential, whether it's good or whether it's not so good. So if we're not working on ourselves, we are going to create an impact on other people. We can't not. Mm-hmm. So I think what we've got to learn to understand is being conscious of our decision-making processes that we are making and what impact that is going to have on the rest of the world around us.
Mm. And it's also not just an impact on other people, also on the planet itself, right?
Yeah, it's everything. So we just say, it's going to be okay, it doesn't matter, all of the things in our head. I remember one guy, he was complaining, mate of mine, he was complaining about all the rubbish when I was living in Vancouver, and I started picking stuff up. I said, well, let's pick some rubbish up, dude. Mm-hmm. Come on, Mitch, let's pick some rubbish up. And he was like, oh no, he just wanted to complain that it was someone else's problem. And I think this is really, really important. I used to do this with my daughter. Every time we'd go to a certain area, we would pick up cigarette butts. And I'll never forget the day we were picking up the cigarette butts when there were smokers there. And Jazzy asked me the question. She said, she's 5 years old. Jazzy. So she said, Daddy. I was like, yes, Jazz. Why are we picking up these cigarette butts? Well, because people are irresponsible, Jazz, and people decide that it's okay to drop cigarette butts and ruin everyone else's time here, and our job is to pick up the cigarette butts to look after other people who are going to be here. It's only going to take us 10 minutes to pick up all the cigarette butts and rubbish around the place so other people have a better time in the place that we're in. And you should have seen the smokers. They felt so bad about themselves because here I am teaching my daughter about how to do the right thing even though that you didn't do the thing that someone had done. Mm-hmm. And this is what responsibility is. It's so easy to shirk your responsibilities and say, well, that wasn't my problem. Mm-hmm. If we're like looking after the planet, for example, if we're looking past and we're saying, okay, that wasn't me who dropped that water bottle on the floor, that wasn't me who dropped that chip packet, and we don't pick it up because we see it, it's again our problem.
That's very true. Some of my neighbors, actually, I've seen them do it a few times. They actually go out and they take like a garbage bag and one of those thingies that you can pick up garbage with, and then on their walk they just pick up garbage the whole time. They just go for a walk and take it. So it's kind of really interesting. I was like, it's really cool what they're doing. So it does make a difference.
It does. And so when you walk into or you're in a room of people and then there's a really angry human walks in the room.
Oh yeah, for sure. You can feel that straight away.
Yeah, and then that angry human creates a massive impact on the people around them. Mm-hmm. They don't think, oh, I'm just angry because I'm angry. They don't get the fact that the impact is there for other people.
Because the other people kind of might feel, they feel unsafe, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, unsafe. And then you get the ones who hide it all and are really happy and pretending everything is okay. That's also an impact.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do it well? Right? So we've got to learn to understand how to make sure that we do one major thing. And this is why, in my opinion, and yes, I maybe have a bias about this, listeners, that you're listening to this right now, that personal development is the number one essential ingredient for us to actually change this planet. Mm-hmm. It's not about what you do to pick up things. It's not how you do things. It's actually who you are being in the world. Mm-hmm. So if you're judging everyone else around you for not doing the right thing, and you're supposedly doing the right thing, you're a problem. Mm-hmm. Right? I think we need to learn how to understand the ramifications of the way in which we're all approaching in life. Because if we don't, we're going to keep blaming the world for the world's problems instead of individually dealing with our own.
Mm-hmm. So basically, don't be a hypocrite.
That's right, or a martyr. Mm. Right? Martyrdom and hypocrisy are so strong right now. Telling people what they should be thinking, telling people what they should be doing, and why should we be told this? There's obviously normal things: don't kill someone, don't rape someone, all of those sorts of things. I get that. When it comes to the way in which people are displaying themselves, it's a consequence. And kindness is actually something that we need to learn how to do. It's not. Kindness is actually normal, a normal part of human conditioning. Mm-hmm. Love is a normal part of human conditioning. We're taught out of it, right? And it all comes down from parenting. Mm. So a lot of parents go, oh, well, I did my best or whatever. Or you can be an adult and say, oh, well, my parents did their best, right? Well, we've got to do better. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do better is to be self-aware.
And keep developing yourself. Mm.
Yeah, because we're not going to have good days all the time. Mm. Right? What are we going to do when we have those bad days? Are we just going to throw meat pies at the world on people's faces? Are we just going to process and pour hot oil over everybody just because we're not feeling good? We have a right. And this is one thing that is really important to me around this idea is self-entitlement. Mm-hmm. Oh, because I'm feeling this way, it's okay for me to feel this way and have a go at people. Right? Mm-hmm. And really it's under those times of duress that we've got to learn how to be more responsible with our emotions and the way that we deliver ourselves. And we're not going to get it right all the time. So listeners, if you're in that place where you've done something that you know is 100% not the best thing for everybody concerned, apologise. Say sorry.
Yeah. And so many people do that, right? Like, just let out all their frustration and anger or whatever they're feeling on other people, and especially people that like actually have nothing to do with it. Like, I used to work in retail, and that was a very common thing, like somebody comes in and is just really angry about whatever, and then something doesn't, we can't sell them a certain product because it can only be sold with a prescription or whatever, and they just throw a massive tantrum, and yeah, you're just like, wow, this is, I'm just doing my job. Like, I'll get in trouble if I sell this to you, so.
That's right. It's like the poor parking inspector.
Yeah.
The poor parking inspector is doing their job, giving people tickets. Mm-hmm. Why are they giving people tickets?
Because they park in the wrong spots.
That's right. It's not because they're bad people. Mm-hmm. They're walking around giving tickets because people have not paid their parking fees, or they're parked in the wrong spot, and so we'd rather have a go at them rather than actually take the responsibility. Mm-hmm. And this is where things come down to in life. We did a podcast on free will just recently. Now, when we're talking about taking personal responsibility, life is going to happen. we're going to have experiences where life's going to happen and we're going to be under duress. And then we've got to figure out, well, what are we going to do when we're under duress? How are we going to make sure that we do things better the next time and better the next time and better the next time? It's like repetition. That if we keep doing the same thing and we apologise, there's another thing around this, is that if we keep doing the same thing and apologise, we're not really sorry either.
Yeah, that's what you do really well.
Tell us about what that I do really well. I'd love to know. What do I do well?
You do that really well. When you we had a few moments where I wasn't happy with something that you did or something, and then we had a chat about it, and you apologized, and then you changed your behavior straight away, rather than being doing the same thing over and over, and then just apologizing again and again. You actually changed your behavior straight away. I was really impressed, because I thought, probably it takes a few times to kind of get used to the new normal, but no, you change it that day, and then it just stays. So
yeah.
I think that's really, really impressive, because that's not something that I'm used to.
Well, why do you think I do it?
Well, because of the impact that you've got.
Exactly this podcast. It's okay, I was creating impact on you, which was creating more stress. And so I could have still been stressed about some of the things that were happening, because I run this academy. I didn't need to actually pour it on you. And that's how you felt, right? Whether right or wrong, it doesn't really matter. It's just you didn't like the behaviour, so I changed it. And this is where you got to learn to be really, really mature in the way that you approach in life. Is that if you have impacted someone in a certain way and they're unhappy, then change it. What usually people do is they go, "But you did this."
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have justification for the reason why I decided to do this.
Yeah, and then also they apologize. I'm really sorry, but I just did it because of this and this and this and this. And I'm like, well, I don't want to know the reasons, necessarily, but just, say I'm sorry. Yeah. That's
right. And that's all it takes, is once you get into this place where you are willing to sacrifice your ego for the greater good, then it's a no-brainer to make better decisions. And I don't always make great decisions with my kids. I don't always make them great with my wife. Don't always make them great with you. What I do is take feedback on pretty well. Sometimes I don't like the feedback. People don't like feedback, do they? When it's something that they know is sort of right, and they're angry inside. You fume inside, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
It's like, damn it, he's right again. Or someone does something, and you're just like, oh. But at the end of the day, we've got to learn to take feedback on and criticism. And how do we take criticism on? Everyone does it really differently. My son Liam, he has a pity party. Every time he gets criticism, he sulks, and so it's a big challenge for me to figure out, well, how do I make sure that I'm not supporting his deep tears through no resilience, or how do I help him get through those tears and know that those tears he needs to change. How we work in the academy, where people, first year we just really honour, accept and acknowledge where people are. The second year is all about, well, come on, let's move and make things happen. How do you make sure that you're doing that right? And it is a challenge, when someone is doing something that is going to create an impact for them later on. If he doesn't change what he's doing, he's going to get bullied. Guaranteed, because year 7 will come along and he'll just be a target. So as a parent, I've got to figure out how to communicate to him when he is really having his emotions go out of wires, simply because he's not getting what he needs, or he's hearing feedback that he doesn't want to hear. Right? Yeah. Because he could, as Anya said this morning, go and suffocate all his emotions on the inside and not share them, and hide them away, or he could work with them And it's a challenging situation for how to support your kids when you didn't know you didn't really receive that. I didn't get that from my dad very well, how to have a good balanced sort of conversation with him about stuff. So to do that with no training is hard. Mm-hmm. Even though I have a lot of training under my hood, I'm still going to have my decisions, the way I talk, everything that I do is going to have consequences on my son if I'm not aware of what I'm doing.
Mm. And I guess nobody's perfect as well. Like, you're not always going to make the perfect decision. You know, I guess there's no such thing anyway.
No, and I didn't make the most perfect decision this morning with Liam. And Anya, thankfully, luckily, Anya pointed it out. So now this afternoon I can sit with Liam and have a conversation with him. Mm-hmm. But it's through someone else's lenses, right? So I made a consequence this morning by what I did, which was basically, you know, I told him he couldn't. He left some stuff on the floor. I said, you're not allowed to use your plays games in the afternoon. He's off the games, and he was really upset. And I said, Liam, that's enough, right? And it was a point where I could have done it differently in that situation, which was, it's not okay for him to be emotional, and that's what Anya pointed out. And you know, she pointed it out so well with me to figure out what I'd done and how I could have done it differently in that moment, right? And then we had a discussion around, well, what is it, you know, about how do we make sure that he doesn't end up like this and then be a target at school, because he will be. If he doesn't actually know how to deal with things when things don't go his way. So, you know, there's a great example of me not getting it right and then figuring out how I can do it better communication-wise. You know, and it's hard sometimes because in that moment, I couldn't control the way I approached. Right?
Yeah.
And this is how it is that I couldn't control the way I approached, and then my partner, because we're both doing personal development, she said, hey Jay, this could have been different. And then the part of me was like trying to justify why I chose it, because I parented Jazzy the same way. And then we spoke about, you know, what this could be to, you know, store emotions on the inside and how we could do it differently. And I think it's really, really important, because someone else on the outside will see much more clearly the things that you are doing that's consequential in this world.
And you know, in the end, like, it'll create consequences for you and for your son, and so whichever way you go, there will be some kind of consequence. You know, whether that's a good one or a bad one.
Yeah, exactly. So. And so for me, I'm the one who needs to buckle up as the parent, right? And not him. He's 9, right? He shouldn't know better. I should. Right? And this is where the parenting has to be done really well. On this particular example, is how to do that really, really well, and make sure that what you choose to do as a parent, what you choose to do in the world, is going to create easier circumstances
for your children. I guess that makes a lot of sense. I think parenting is probably a prime example of, you know, the influence that our choices have, and you know, the patterns that will come up in the kids' lives later on.
Yeah, well, ultimately they're the prime reason, right? So if we don't change what we do in our family structure, it just keeps happening. You can see it in kids. You know, from working with thousands and thousands of people over the years, just looking at how the people would not cope with or have the same things happen all through the generations. Addictions or people just being dominated with boundaries, being picked on, and all of these sorts of things all go through the family tree. So it really comes down to, I talk about this being, the awareness creates a door stopper.
Mm-hmm.
And the door stopper means that you are stopping the bloodline in its tracks.
Because you understand what's going on, so you actually have then the opportunity to do something different and change it for the future generations.
You do, and this doesn't mean that the future, like your kids are going to get a better deal. They're going to get a different deal though.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Right, so with my dad growing up, I hit him on the head with a spanner when I was 15, one of my most shameful moments. And I was so angry with him, and he asked, why the hell did you do that for? And I said, you've never ever said a positive thing to me in my life. I've had enough, I can't handle you. And his response straight away was, I never got it from my dad. So that day, as a 15-year-old, I had compassion for my dad. I completely flipped. I was like, oh, he didn't know how.
Wow.
Right? And so that's the problem right there, is he had no idea how, so I couldn't be angry with him. And then I made it a really important, and still am trying to make it a really important process for me to actually learn how. Because I didn't get taught from my dad. So then I can't. The biggest problem that I see in parenting today, and with working with so many parents with little kids, is that they would be over positive to their kids to balance the equation of what they missed out on. And that is the worst consequence you can give, because they turn into little shits. So I had kids, I had a massage, I had a swivel chair, and I'd walk into my room and I'd see that the kid was swiveling on my swivel chair, and I'm sitting there just looking at the parent going, are you going to do anything right now? Nothing. Because she had so much negativity or it's usually the mums would bring their kids in, so much negativity when she was a kid. She didn't want to give it. All she wanted to do was give her son positivity, which turned the kid into an entitled turd. Lots of them. So I had to teach the parents how to be really clear with boundaries to make sure that they don't go the opposite way because they missed out. Right? And that's what I'm really conscious of. I can't look, because I've worked with so many kids with problems, and the mums not knowing how to give them boundaries because they didn't get any love and care, so they overloved and care, and that is a problem. Because that means every time a kid does something wrong, the parent doesn't give a consequence for the behaviour, which is what I did this morning. Liam had a consequence for not cleaning his room up. And and then if I had have taken that away because I didn't handle it very well, then that would have been like, oh, it's okay for me to just leave my room messy.
That's really, really interesting, and I can definitely, when I think about that, and having worked in childcare as well, I can say that I've seen that heaps as well. Very positive parenting, and then kids with very little understanding for boundaries, and if you then try to set them as like somebody external from the family, it's much harder as well, because they're like, who are you to tell me what to do? Like, I don't get this stuff at home, so I'm not going to do whatever you tell me. Whereas other kids, where they have like a more healthy balance, they're like, okay, this is the boundary and this is what we do.
Yeah. I got the weirdest thing at Liam had his birthday party this weekend, and one of the kids' parents said, now if he's naughty, give him one of these. Right? He gave me permission to give him a clip under the ear. I was like, he needs it sometimes. I'm like, oh, okay. I said to him, I gave him a couple of clips under the ear for you. He goes, good. I was only joking. I didn't give him anything. But it was just so funny, because that's how it happened when I was a kid. That was the parents were always listened to as opposed to the kids. I'll never forget, this is a massive consequence that I had. Liam got punched in the guts and kicked in the balls by this kid at school. And I came up and spoke to the parent, and the parent said to me, "I will always back my son." And I just went, okay, I give up having a conversation with you. Because she wasn't backing what was the right behaviour, so she was turning her son into a bully. Because there was nothing her son could ever do wrong. Everything that she was doing was consequential for this son's behaviour, and he is a bully at school. He's still. I asked Lem, how's so and so going? Oh yeah, he's really hard. People, he still hits people, and he's really hard work. Just because the mum has decided, I'm going to back my son every turn. That is the most irresponsible parenting that you can possibly do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So our approach in our home is do what's right rather than be right. Right?
I really like that. I remember you saying that before, and it's really stuck with me.
Yeah, so it just changes the model. So it makes you think what your behaviour is in the home. And that's the ideal in the home. So anyone who does the wrong thing has to apologise to the family members. Doesn't matter whether they're big or small.
And that's good too. So kids apologise to adults, and adults apologise to kids. Everyone's like
everyone's the same. There's no. It's like instead of saying I'm the parent here, it's just like here's the rules of the house, appropriate behaviours for everybody concerned. And I think this is really, really important. This is what this is all about, guys. If you're gonna make this world a better place, every decision you make, you got to think about, well, was that a good one or not?
Was I doing what's right, or was I trying to be right? Yeah,
because righteousness is not going to ever change this planet. Righteousness is dickheadism.
Very good word.
Yeah. You can't, not everyone is going to be right. It's going to be an opinion. Right? Especially right now. There's different opinions flying left, right and centre. Who's right? I can understand, I sat with you a couple of weeks ago and told you what the way in which people who you don't agree with think. Gave you a bit of an idea of why they're thinking that way.
And now I understand them more, and just makes more sense. And to see that basically everyone thinks to themselves that they're doing the right thing. I think I'm doing the right thing. They think they're doing the right thing, and then they get upset at each other because you don't agree with what I say, And I always think about what my mum used to say to me. Actually, she said, we can't all like the same things and have the same opinions. Imagine if we all did that. It would be so boring in the world. If everyone just liked red, and everyone would just listen to the same music, and everyone would have the same opinions about that. We wouldn't have those conversations, right?
No, that's right. And I think this is where awareness comes down to the table. The more aware you become, the more you're able to make clearer decisions that are appropriate. Right? And I'm not talking about people who are saying they're aware. Usually people who say they're really aware are very lacking in awareness. It's people who other people are saying they're aware. It's far better.
Better indicator of actual awareness.
Yeah, of actual awareness. I've had a lot of people say, Jason, you're really, really aware. And I sit there and go, I hope so. I'm not so sure about that. I don't know.
You got the wrong person.
I hear this a lot from other people.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that totally.
I think that's really, really important, is that, well, if other people are saying it, there must be a little bit of truth in that. That if you're the one putting your hand up saying, I'm the aware one, run 100 miles away from those people, listeners, because I would be very, very concerned about the ability that they can actually get any sort of feedback other than what they are and how amazing they are. And I've experienced this. I've been in positions where I've met very, very well-known personal development people, and their head was so firmly jammed up their asses that they couldn't see any of it. There was so much sun sitting up their ass, but there was no sun sitting in their personalities. They had turned into arrogant people because they had their hand up saying, I'm awesome. And I think that's other people's job.
Absolutely. And if you think about old books and movies and stuff, the hero in the books is usually the person who doesn't think that they're really great. Yeah. And then there's usually the villain who's like, I'm the best, and who's a bit of a bully, or a big bully. And the person who doesn't think that they're actually great ends up being, everyone thinks they're actually great.
Yeah, because they actually have the skills that they're not willing to put their hand up and saying, I'm awesome. Mm-hmm. And then you see in the movies, if you see a trilogy, you see them feeling more comfortable in their skin, still with the humility. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's all about. The more humble you are, the more you're able to create a scenario that you can look at situations and see them for what they are and keep growing. You're not always, the more awareness, you're not going to always be the one getting it right in the room. Mm-hmm. That's a guarantee.
And so it's like, make mistakes and apologise.
100%. So hopefully this was helpful around this podcast today. I think it's really, really important that we learn to do this better.
Absolutely agree. Thanks for the chat. That was great.
Right. No worries, and thanks for listening, guys.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't buy it, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.